Alright guys, I will try to make this as quick as I can. Recently did a heater core replacement. Not a lot of stuff as far as videos go, so I figured I'd fill in the gaps on that. This is a 2001 Saab 9.5 Aero. I think all the Trionic 7, like 2.3 liter Saab 9.5s from 1999 to 2009 is probably going to be very similar. I think at least the location of the heater core would be the same. So let's talk about the symptoms. For me, that middle vent right above the radio was blowing slightly colder than the other ones, and I had a bit of a rough idle, and I think that's because the water pump was potentially struggling a little bit. And those, I know the fluid mechanics or dynamics or whatever can get pretty complicated, so that may have been kind of causing everything to struggle since the water pump's hooked up to the serpentine belt. Because my ref idle is now gone when the heater's on, and it is tremendously warmer, so that's nice. So let's talk about how you get there, and then I will talk about some issues I ran into. So first, you want to remove the glove box. Inside the glove box, there are a bunch of torque screws. Take those off. I think you may have to, I forgot the order of operations here, but I think you have to take off this bottom trim underneath the glove box to get the glove box out. I think it might be connected. Some things, you have a courtesy light on that bottom panel as well. Looks like that. Those, you can just pull those right off. There's no mechanism locking it in. Then there's a courtesy light in the glove box, but there's also this air tube that you can just slide off, and that's all on the left side. There's a kind of a bulbous looking piece of trim. If you haven't come across those plastic clips, I don't see it. Oh yeah, kind of like that guy right in between there. You push in the center and then pull out the whole clip from the sides with a flathead or something. But I'm pretty sure that, yeah, if that's how you'd get to the cabin air filter if you wanted to replace that. I'm pretty sure when I did that, I think that plastic grid is the cover for that. Another thing, you cannot remove the heater core completely without taking off this plastic piece right here. You can see some little latches go into those fittings or whatever, so you just kind of pull those back, and that is right there. So it connects to there, and you just pull that off. So at this point, you are now ready to take off the heater core, which you can see these metal tubes. Those are the coolant and inlet and outlet tubes. So there's this plastic piece right there that just kind of goes over things. But there's two brass Phillips head / regular bolts that you take off, and then above those two there's another two screws that you take out. So there's 4 mounting points for the heater core. There's also this, that is a torque screw with a little plate on the back. So, and that's what keeps those hoses in there in the heater core. Something to note is that that plate is beveled on one side and square, or like kind of a sharp edge on the other side. I couldn't remember which way it was on there, so I would take note of that if I were you. I'd probably assume is the beveled side going into the like the beveled side facing the heater core. I'm not sure. I chose to go with the square edge, so I'm not sure, but I would pay attention. Seemed like the sharp edge would hold it in there better. Okay, so that is pretty much it. And then I should also mention, I guess, when you're taking out the heater core, you have some play in those pipes, but that top pipe is wedged up right against that cabin air filter box. So you need to pull out the heater core a little bit before you can take off that pipe. So yeah, let's talk about issues I ran into. First of all, I thought Nissan was the OEM supplier for some reason. They make good stuff, but that heater core is grotesquely more expensive than the rest. When I took out the old one, it was actually a Vallejo, which I think makes sense because I think that is a GM brand, and this Saab is, I think, basically the first year, or at least generation, that GM got involved with, so didn't totally corrupt it yet. It's still better than all the other engines, it seems like. But so if you can find Vallejo, that's good, because this Nissan one, first of all, I had this, let me take you rid of the original heater core. So here's my hand for reference. So it would go in like this. So the Nissan came, so you see all this styrofoam padding, or foam padding, I should say. The Nissan one didn't have any of that. It came with a small strip with an adhesive backing. And instead of having foam here on the end, it had a plate like this. This plate cannot fit through the slot to the fan. So in the process, I actually slightly damaged my heater core a little bit, the new one, trying to shove it in there with this plate, which was extremely annoying. So if you get the Nissan one or have the Nissan one already, take off this plastic plate. So that was super frustrating. The other thing is it didn't have any of the padding, like I mentioned, so I had a little bit of excess. Obviously you would want to seal up this. You can see when this was manufactured or installed, someone just took the adhesive strip and wrapped it around. I had a little bit of excess, so I figured maybe I should put it on the top and the bottom to protect it from vibrations. If I could go back, I would definitely skip that part. I wouldn't really worry about that because I think these are the 4 mounting points I was talking about with the bolts. So there's that little piece that goes over it on the bottom, but then there's just the same thing up here. If these are holding it in, then you're probably fine. It probably shouldn't be moving that much. So now I had, I have this stuff on the top, and if I want to pull it in or out, with the one I installed, it's difficult and really wedged in there. B, if this shit comes off, maybe that goes downwind and messes with one of my fans or something. So if I could go back, I would just put adhesive around the edge to seal it, or I'd put that foam adhesive. Okay, so the other thing is, once I got it in there successfully and dealing with all the incorrect sizing and lack of padding, my gaskets, so those metal pipes slide into the insert there, the female end, and there's a gasket over the metal pipe. Lo and behold, after over 20 years of heat cycles and probably somewhat acidic solution at times, because coolant can become acidic if you don't change it enough. Might even start slightly acidic, I'm not sure. Those gaskets were shot. So if I were you, I would order some. Euro Parts has some. I would get those prior. So what was really frustrating about that is I installed this, and like I said, I had that foam on there, and I had coolant spurting out. Now, because of that foam, it was wedged in there, and you can't pull out that top pipe without pulling out the heater core a little bit. So eventually I did get it out just enough to get that top pipe out, but I don't know if I could get that thing out fully without breaking it. I could probably break it and just buy another cheap heater core, which would probably serve me better anyways. But so I got some gaskets on the fly from O'Reilly's. So I got this gasket set, and I used the biggest one. So, and unfortunately, they weren't in metric. So it's this 17.46 millimeters on the bottom right. These were a little big. Luckily, they're holding in coolant successfully, so we'll just keep them. But it's not quite a perfect fit. Let me see if I can. So it works, but do yourself a favor and order those beforehand. So that's it. But yeah, I think I mentioned this. All the issues and kind of theories I had on the heater core seem to be correct. So, you know, I'd imagine like you're probably gonna get some increase in pressure somewhere that you don't want if that thing's clogged. So I really just didn't want to spring a leak or put excessive wear on the pump or something. So it blows nice and hot, but those are just a few tips to learn from my mistakes and avoid some frustration. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. Good luck.